Hi guys, Casper MMA here, and today we're back with another predictions video on the channel. Today I give my predictions for Cage Warriors 186, Hardwick versus Garcia. Now, last week's card went pretty well. It was a really good fight card. I hope you guys watched it. I enjoyed it a lot. We only got 2 losses, or 2 picks wrong. One of them was a big underdog, but we did get 2 underdog picks right ourselves. So I am looking forward to this weekend's card, but before I do jump into it, make sure if you guys aren't already and you're enjoying this content, you go down below and hit that subscribe button. It's free and it's really appreciated. So there's 14 fights on this card, and we kick things off with the first prelim of Harry Shaw versus Jan Masek. Now, Harry Shaw, Englishman, 2-1 record, is on 2-fight winning streak, 1 win by KO, 1 win by decision. Lost his first fight by rear naked choke, but since then he's looked pretty good, to be fair. 2 decent wins, 1 win in Cage Warriors as well against Steph Murray. His opponent, Jan Masek, 1-1 from Czech Republic. Did lose in his first fight in Cage Warriors to Conor Patterson by submission, but he had a submission himself in his first professional fight. So not much to go off there, just 1 win by submission, 1 loss by submission. But I do think that Shaw is the better fighter here. I mean, he has more wins. He's on a winning streak as well. So I think Shaw is going to get the win here. And I reckon he's going to get the KO. Now, moving up the cards to Joe Middleton versus Craig Rawlins. Now, Joe Middleton, 2-0 record, undefeated. Very nice. He's got 2 wins, both coming by dash choke. So that's quite good. His last fight was round 1 finish in Cage Warriors. So that's pretty decent. His opponent, Craig Rawlins, another Englishman, 5-5. So not as good a record, really. He's got like a couple wins by KO, a couple wins by submission. I mean, he's got quite a few finishes, to be fair. Has lost his last 2 fights in Cage Warriors by submission. So let's see a trend coming here. This guy's won 2 by submission. This guy's lost 2 by submission in a row. I'm going to go with Joe Middleton to get this submission. Now, moving up the card too. Tommy Brunning versus Kadeem Perkins. Now, this one's a tough fight to call, really. Tommy Brunning, currently 1-2, has 3 fights in total in Cage Warriors. Won his first one by KO, but he has lost his last 2 in a row, both by submission. His opponent on the event, Kadeem Perkins, is 1-0. Only had 1 fight in his career, and he won that by decision against another 0-0 fighter. So not much to go for from this guy and both these guys, to be fair. But I think I'm going to go with Brunning to get this job done. I mean, he has got more experience in the ring, even though it is only 3 fights. He has won one, his first one, and I've not seen enough from Perkins to say he's a threat by submission against him. So I'm going to go with Brunning to get the job done by decision. Now, moving up the card to Danny Blundell versus Rafael Aronov. Now, Aronov, 6-6 Israelian, currently lost his last fight to Sean Clancy Jr. by rear naked choke in round 1, but has quite a few wins by submission himself. I mean, in Cage Warriors, he's 2-2. He's only got 2 finishes by submission, being finished twice by submission in Cage Warriors. So pretty interesting record there. His opponent, Danny Blundell, on the other hand, 6-3 in total. Did lose his last fight by KO, but won his fight before that by submission. He's got a few submissions, a few finishes in his career. Both these guys, alright fighters. I mean, not the best records really, but I think I'm going to back the Englishman in Blundell to get this job done. I mean, he's got a few finishes by submission himself. Aronov's been finished a couple of times before, so I'm going to go with Blundell to get the submission. Now, moving up the card to Hudson versus Mim Grubb. Now, Hudson, in our last fight, I actually picked against her, which a lot of people were like telling me I was wrong and they wouldn't let Hudson lose or something. But I proved them wrong. I just had a feeling Elise Smith would get the job done. She did. She knocked her out. But I do think she's going to bounce back in this fight. I mean, she's fighting Mim Grubb, who is currently 0-0 professional record. Has decent amateur career, to be fair. 6 wins in a row there. But I do think Riri Hudson is a decent fighter, to be fair, and I feel like she's going to bounce back with a win by decision. Now, moving up the card too, Cameron Stewart versus Daniel Crooks-May. Now, both these guys with a record of 0-1 coming into this fight. Cameron Stewart lost by unanimous decision in his first fight in Cage Warriors, whereas Daniel Crooks-May lost his first fight by he lost his first fight professionally by guillotine, but then he had a no contest in his last fight by an illegal knee in round 2. So Not pretty unfortunate there, but both these guys with the same record really. I mean, Daniel Crooks-May is 0-1-1. But I think I'm going to go Stewart here. I mean, there isn't much to go apart from Stewart's pretty decent amateur record. I mean, he's had quite a few finishes, to be fair, and stuff. So I feel like Stewart is going to get a finish here. And I reckon Stewart gets the KO. Now, moving up the card to Johnny Scott versus Johnny Touma. Now, Johnny Scott looks a pretty decent Englishman here. 6-1. His record, most of the wins coming by decision. He's on a 5-fight winning streak, I think, here. Looking pretty good. 3 in a row in Cage Warriors. 1 by submission, 2 by decision. So he's looking pretty decent at the minute. Johnny Touma, on the other hand, a Swedish man, 6-3 record. Lost his last fight by KO, but he's got a few wins, few losses in his record. He's not a bad fighter, really, but I can't see him beating Johnny Scott. To be fair, Scott looks really good on a 5-fight winning streak as well. No one can stop him. I feel like Scott is going to come in here and get the decision. Now, moving up the card too, Yawinder Singh versus Ollie Sarwa. Now, Yawinder Singh, 8-4, Indian man. Not many good Indian MMA fighters really I've seen. Like most of the ones in the UFC don't seem to do very well. But this guy, interesting record. I mean, he's from the last 6 fights, he's gone lost win, lost win, lost win. So he can't really get a winning streak going together at the minute. Whereas his opponent can, Ollie Sarwa. He's on a 5-fight winning streak. The Englishman looks really good, 5-0. Most of his wins literally all of his wins coming by KO as well. 1 no contest in there. So this guy's very dangerous, and I will be picking him. I will be going Ollie Sarwa to get the KO. Now, moving up the card too, Tariq Pell versus Ermil Xhaferi. Now, I have to butcher one name on this card. Come on. Ermil Xhaferi from Albania, I think that is. Yeah, 5-1 record. Looks pretty decent. All of his fights have been finishes so far in his career. He was finished once in Cage Warriors, but apart from that, he's finished everyone else he's fought. So he looks decent. Tariq Pell, on the other hand, 4-1. Pretty much in the same boat as well. He lost 1 decision, but all of his wins have either been by KO or submission. So should be a decent fight. Both these guys are entertaining fighters, but I think I'm going to back Tariq Pell to get the job done. I feel like he's fought slightly better opponents than Xhaferi in his career, so I think Pell is going to come in here and get the KO. Now, moving up the card too, Charles Joyner versus Yannick Bahati. Now, Charles Joyner, 4-1 from Australia. A lot of these fighters on this card have had either a draw or no contest in their career. So his last fight was a draw to the guys fighting now. He was a split draw, but before that he was on a 3-fight winning streak. Quite a lot of, literally all his fights coming by KO, all his wins. Bahati is currently 9-7 record, so not very good. He's also 35 years of age as well, so he's getting on a bit. I didn't pick his last fight with Charles Joyner, but I would have probably picked Charles Joyner to win. So, apart from that draw, he was on a 3-fight losing streak, being KO'd quite a few times. So, I feel like I'll be going with Joyner to get the job finished this time, and I reckon he's going to get the KO. Now, moving up the card too, Will Currie versus Eli Aronov. Now, another Israeli man on the card, Eli Aronov. Bit better record on this guy though, 6-1 in total. Lost his last fight to on the Contender Series to Zach Reese, but I mean Zach Reese is pretty good, even though he has lost his last fight in the UFC. But I still think he's decent, so that's not a bad loss to have in your record, really. Apart from that, a pretty clean record. A few decisions, few KOs, submission in there as well. Will Currie, on the other hand, a very good fighter, very good Englishman. Did fight on the Contender Series recently, lost a unanimous decision to Jordan Santos. So both these guys coming straight back from the Contender Series to Cage Warriors. Before that, his last loss was to Mick Stanton. Very good, impressive record in Cage Warriors. A lot of wins by submission and a few decisions, a few KOs in there. So both these guys are pretty good prospects, to be fair. Both been on the Contender Series, so it shows they're talented. But I'm going to back the Englishman to get this job done. Will Currie, I really like him. He's pretty good. And I feel like he's going to win the decision. Now, moving up the card too. Nick Bagley versus Kenny Lopes. Now, Nick Bagley, 6-1. Englishman is on a 4-fight winning streak. All wins coming by rear naked choke. So that is pretty decent. Literally, 5 of his 6 wins have come by rear naked choke, so it's quite impressive. 1 loss by decision in his career to Ben Ellis in his first Cage Warriors fight, or no, second Cage Warriors fight. But apart from that, he looks pretty decent, I've got to say. And his opponent, Currie Lopes, is a dangerous man, to be fair. I mean, I remember I picked him, if you've seen my LFA predictions video before, I actually predicted him to beat Wellington Prado, who's the underdog. I got the prediction right. But then he came to Cage Warriors, lost to Harry Hardwick, which is I think I predicted that, to be fair, as well. I've done quite a few of these videos now, but yeah, he lost to Harry Hardwick, and I can see him losing here again, to be fair. It could be a close fight. I mean, I think Lopes does have what it takes to beat Bagley here, but I do think Bagley is going to come out. It's in England. I feel like the Englishmen have an advantage here, and I feel like Bagley is going to come out and get the submission. Now, moving up the card too. George Hardwick versus Samuel Silva. Now, George Hardwick, I mean, I think he was meant to fight someone else like Lucas Clay on a different card, but he's been moved to this card because his opponent pulled out. But before that, he beat Christian Iorga to defend his title. Obviously lost on the Contender Series, but in Cage Warriors, he's looked pretty decent. I mean, he's pretty sure he's undefeated in Cage Warriors since he's been here. So quite a lot of KOs, a couple submissions and that in there. He's a good fighter, George Hardwick, I've got to say. Samuel Silva, on the other hand, Brazilian, 12-4 his record. He's actually looking pretty decent at the minute. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, 2 of them wins in LFA. His last win was by guillotine. But yeah, he looks a pretty dangerous man. A lot of finishes in his career, but I don't think he's going to be good enough to beat George Hardwick here. I mean, George Hardwick is a really good prospect. He's been on the Contender Series before. I do think George Hardwick is going to get this done, and he's going to defend his belt. So I think Hardwick is going to get the KO. Now, moving up the card too. Another Hardwick, Harry Hardwick versus Javier Garcia. Now, the other of the Hardwick brothers did beat, just won his, he defended his belt against Currie Lopes, who we've just talked about in the other fight, winning against Orlando Wilson Prince. So he's got a pretty decent record. I mean, he had 1 draw in Cage Warriors in 2022, but apart from that, would have been like a 6 or 7 fight winning streak other than that. So he's pretty decent. A lot of wins come by submission, decision. We love both the Hardwick brothers. They're entertaining. The opponent, Javier Garcia from America. Love the mustache. Looks very nice. 12-5 record. Lost his last fight in combat jiu-jitsu, which is interesting. But apart from that, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Had a no contest to Elijah Johns, and yeah, he looks pretty decent. I mean, he's lost to a few fighters earlier on, like in his career, Weston Wilson, Bruno Souza, Chase Gibson. So decent fighters, to be fair, in LFA and that. But he's come back. He's on a 4-fight winning streak with a no contest in the middle of there as well. So he's not a bad fighter, but like I said in the last fight, he's not going to be good enough to beat Harry Hardwick here, and I think Harry Hardwick is going to get the decision. So there are my picks for Cage Warriors 186. Let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of my picks. And that's all for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, maybe leave a like, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.